Shalom, my friends. Welcome to this week's Word Study. I want to talk with you about what's commonly known as the Seven Jewish Feasts. Going to cover that today. And I'll go through all 7 of them. Next week, on Thursday again, I'm going to focus specifically on the feast commonly called Rosh Hashanah, properly titled Yom Teruah. So, I'm going to start off by reading from Leviticus chapter 23, verse 4, where we see in the HalleluYah Scriptures, "These are the appointed times of Yahweh, Qodesh gatherings, which you are to proclaim at their appointed times." You'll notice it doesn't say, "These are the Jewish feasts." No, the actual word there it would be, "These are the Moed." Moed. Basically, it means Yahweh's Qodesh, his dedicated appointments with mankind. Now, Moed generally is the singular. The plural would be MOEDIM. However, the original scripture is singular. These are the Moed of Yahweh. Qodesh rehearsals, which you shall proclaim at their stated times. Again, these are not Jewish feast days. If you think of them that way, change your way of thinking. These are not holidays. These are Abba Father's Qodesh appointments with mankind. Predetermined prophetic appointments with mankind. The word we generally see in most English Bibles is feasts, but the original word, as I said, is moed. The Father's word, moed, basically means appointment, but these are his appointments. They are Qodesh appointments. He is dedicated to them. Also note that when I use the Aramaic Hebrew word Qodesh, I've said this numerous times throughout my videos. I think it's a good idea for me to repeat it again and again and again. Qodesh is the word we usually see in English Bibles as holy. But, holy, if you think about it, what is holy? I mean, you think of candles and stained glass windows and angels with wings, and it's very abstract. And Yahweh says, "I am holy, I want you to be holy." What does that mean? How can we be holy? But if you learn the Aramaic Hebrew word Qodesh, he's saying, "I am dedicated to you and you only." Qodesh. I want you to be dedicated to me and to me only. Qodesh. Now, that's understandable. Can you be Qodesh? Yes. Dedicated to him and to him only. Leviticus chapter 23 is the single chapter of the entire Tanakh, the first covenant, that sums up all 7 Moedim. Elohim's eternal plan from chaos to eternity is absolutely revealed through the nature and timing of the 7 annual Qodesh Moedim of Yahweh. Let's take a look at the word Moed from Strong's number H4150, generally seen as feasts. Moed is spelled Mem, Wa, Ayin, Dalet. Mem, Wa, Mo. Ayin, Dalet, Aid. Mem, picture of water. Water is the word. The word washes us clean. It also has to do with Yeshua's blood, which purchased and saves us. Wa, picture of the tent peg, having to do with Yahweh pitching his tent with us learning to pitch our tent with him. Ayin, picture of an eye, has to do with spiritual sight and vision. It has to do with watching. It has to do with knowing. It has to do with the Word and His Ruach converging in your soul. His Word and His Ruach converging in your living experience. And then Dalet, picture of a door. Yeshua is the door. Dalet has to do with movement back and forth between the door, between the physical realm and the spiritual realm. Dalet has to do with the 4 dimensions of space and time. So, Moed, generally they say that word means appointment. Here, through the audio, we see that what Moed means is being washed by His Word, where He tells us about His Qodesh appointments with mankind, and we pay attention to what He says, and we are obedient to what He says about them. It has to do with us learning to pitch our tent with Elohim, and letting Elohim teach us how to pitch our tent with Him as He pitches His tent with us. Ayin, it has to do with gaining spiritual sight and vision by following the Father's instructions about these Qodesh appointments with mankind, teaching us to watch for what we learn about them in the signs of the world around us as these prophecies unfold. These Qodesh appointments are prophetic, as you'll see as we proceed. And Dalet, it's about us moving through the door. Yeshua is the door, but us moving from our physical, fleshy nature into us having that spiritual sight and vision from Ayin, into the spiritual realm, and learning to worship the Father in spirit rather than in flesh. For example, as we'll see, the first Moed is Passover, Pesach, and the Jews rehearsed that as they were instructed to every year for many, many, many years. In the flesh, when the prophecy came on the earth and was being fulfilled, many didn't see it because they didn't have the spiritual sight. These Moed are here to baptize us in His Word, to teach us to pitch a tent, our tent with Him, to learn to have spiritual sight and vision, and therefore to move through the door from the physical into the spiritual. Believers in Yeshua are not responsible to keep these feasts, especially knowing that the first 4 have been fulfilled, and therefore rehearsing them is now pointless. But knowledge of them all is absolutely crucial to understanding Bible prophecy. Yeshua kept every one of the first 4 Moedim without fail, even celebrating Pesach on His last earthly night, and we can be sure He will be as faithful about keeping the final 3. Now let's look at what the Moedim are called, when they happen, and what makes them significant. It was on Mount Sinai that Yahweh gave Moshe, Moses, the dates and observances of the 7 Moedim. Here are their names and dates. Number 1, Passover. That is Pesach. That's Nisan 14 and 15. Number 2, Unleavened Bread. That is Chag HaMotzah. Nisan 15 through 22. Number 3, First Fruits. That is Yom HaBikurim. Nisan 16 and 17. Number 4, Pentecost. That is Shavuot. Sivan 6 and 7. Number 5, trumpets, that is Yom Teruah, Tishri 1. Number 6, atonement, that is Yom Kippur, Tishri 10. And finally, number 7, tabernacles, that is Sukkot, Tishri 15 through 22. Note, we don't say Yom Teruah or Yom Kippur. It's Yom. Yom means waters or west or into darkness. We say Yom Teruah, Yom Kippur. Yom means day. That is to say, for example, Yom Teruah, the Day of Trumpets. Yahweh's calendar is based on the phases of the moon, and each month in a lunar calendar begins with a new moon. The first 3 MOEDIM have been prophetically fulfilled. They are Pesach, Unleavened Bread, and First Fruits, and they occur in March and April. The 4th Moed has also been prophetically fulfilled, and that is Shavuot, which marks the summer harvest and occurs in late May or early June. The last 3 Moedim have not yet been prophetically fulfilled. They are Yom Teruah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. They happen in September and October. The spring feasts. Number 1, Passover, Pesach. Leviticus 23:5 specifies that the Moedim all begin with Passover on the 14th day of the first month, quote unquote. That would be what's commonly known as Nisan 15. Passover is the Moed of salvation. In both covenants, the blood of the Lamb delivers from slavery the Jew from Egypt, the Qodeshim, or the called out ones, from sin. Think about the 10th plague in Exodus 12:5, when Egypt's firstborn sons died, while the angel of death passed over the Jewish homes with the blood of the Lamb on their doorposts. In the Brit Chadashah, that is the renewed covenant, commonly known as the New Testament, Yeshua served as the sacrificial lamb and fulfilled this Moed, Yahweh's first appointment with mankind. Number 2, unleavened bread, Chag HaMatzah. Leviticus 23:6 places the second Moed on the next night. Quote, on the 15th day of the same month is the Moed of unleavened bread unto Yahweh. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. Close quote. Leaven or yeast in the Bible symbolizes sin and evil. Unleavened bread, eaten over a period of time, symbolized a Qodesh walk with Yahweh. Unleavened bread in the Brit Chadashah, the renewed covenant, is of course the body of Yeshua. He is described as the bread of life, Lechem Hachai. He was born in Bethlehem, which in Hebrew means house of bread, Beit Lechem. When you look at matzah, you see that it is striped. By his stripes we are healed. And it is pierced. They shall look upon me whom they pierced. And it is pure without any leaven, as his body was without any sin. Further, the Passover custom of burying, hiding, and then resurrecting the second of 3 pieces of matzah, the middle piece, presents the good news. Number 3, first fruits. On the day after the Sabbath, following unleavened bread, Leviticus 23:11 schedules first fruits, the Moed for acknowledging the fertility of the land he gave the Israelites. They were to bring the early crops of their spring planting and wave the sheaf before Yahweh. Christianity has come to call this feast Easter, named after Ishtar, the pagan goddess of fertility. And continuing in its religious wickedness, Christianity continues to revere objects of fertility like the rabbit and the egg. But the Moed of first fruits is about Elohim's replanting of the earth in the spring, not about pagan ideas and demonic doctrines concerning fertility. This Moed is about the resurrection of Yeshua on first fruits, which indeed has already been fulfilled. And eventually it's about the Net Chatef, the rapture of the bride, and the Kodeshim, the dedicated ones, or the called out ones. Number 4, Pentecost Shavuot. Leviticus 23:16 says, quote, "After the 7th Sabbath you shall number 50 days, and you shall offer a new meat offering unto Yahweh." Close quote. In late May or early June, Shavuot marked the summer harvest. Leviticus 23:17 requires an offering of 2 loaves of bread baked with leaven. These 2 loaves symbolize the Kodeshim, the dedicated, called out ones, being comprised of both Jew, the first loaf, and Gentile, the second loaf. A review of the first 4 spring MOEDIM reveals that Yeshua was crucified on Pesach, buried on unleavened bread, raised on first fruits, and he sent the Ruach HaKodesh on Shavuot. Now we have the fall feasts yet to be fulfilled. Number 5, Trumpets, Yom Teruah. Ever since Isaac was spared by virtue of the ram being caught in the thicket by its horn, Elohim seems to have enjoyed the trumpet. He used it when Joshua conquered Jericho. In Leviticus 25:8-10, he specified its use in having trumpets proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. And that quotation appears today on the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia, assuring us that America was founded by Bible readers. And Leviticus 23:24 requires that, quote, "In the 7th month, in the first day of the month, shall you have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets," close quote. Yom Teruah occurs in September. This jump in time from the Feast of Pentecost in May or June seems to represent what is called the Church Age in Elohim's planning, since the trumpet unquestionably represents the Net Chatef, the rapture of the Kodeshim, the dedicated, called out ones. The trumpet was the signal for the field workers to come into the temple. The Kohen Hagadol, that's the high priest, actually blew the trumpet so that the faithful would stop harvesting and come to the temple to worship. Now, when the trumpet sounds, in accordance with 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 51 through 53, the living Kodeshim will cease their harvest and rise from the earth. They will be taken out of the world, off the planet. Number 6, Atonement, Yom Kippur. Leviticus 23:27 provides a day of confession, the highest of Qodesh days. Quote, "Also on the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a Qodesh rehearsal unto you, and you shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh." Close quote. This is the one Moed that is not fulfilled by the Kodeshim, the called out ones, because the Kodeshim owe no atonement. They are not innocent, of course, but their atonement is exonerated. And the day of atonement will be fulfilled when Yeshua returns with the Kodeshim at his second coming. Finally, tabernacles, Sukkot. Leviticus 23:34 says, quote, "The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Moed of tabernacles for 7 days unto Yahweh," close quote. Elohim wanted to celebrate the fact that he provided shelter for the Israelites in the wilderness. Each year on tabernacles, devout Jews build little shelters or booths, Sukkot, outside their houses and worship in them. Tabernacles represents Yahweh's shelter in the world to come. Olam Hava, his great tabernacle to exist in Jerusalem during the millennium, when he reigns and tabernacles with his people. Yahweh will establish his tabernacle in Jerusalem. See Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 26. And the world will come every year to appear before the king and worship him. See Zechariah chapter 14, verses 16 and 17. Chanukah, by the way, was not given by Yahweh on Mount Sinai, but was prophesied in Daniel chapter 8, verses 9 through 14, and took place in 165 BC, when the temple was rededicated. And that's our study for this week, my friends. As always, I hope and I pray that it's been a beracha to you and to yours. Thank you for your support. Until next week, Abba willing. Shalom, my friends. Yeah. Now 2,000 years have gone by, it's another working day. Some would rather let it lie, but the question still remains.